Welcome everybody tonight to WSO Live, February 13th, 2016, at least I think it is. Today we're going to do a live session. I'm going to rant. You're going to ask questions. We're going to look at a couple of the best pictures I like the best. Maybe hear a little bit of your testimony. Maybe, get to going with some of you folks here tonight. It's good to have you. And the other thing I wanted to do quick is thank everybody for supporting the channel. The channel has grown unbelievably fast, and I just thank you all for the for the opportunity to share the information that I'm learning. I'm really humbled by it, so thank you. Anyway, let's start with just a little bit of what I collected today. I've been watching, as you guys know, these phenomenon in Mexico from the Mexico cams. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm just going to kind of loop this while we're sitting here and talk a little bit about these these images. So basically these are the webcams to Mexico, and if you're in the Nibiru community, Wormwood community, you know that you can kind of catch views of the sun at sunrise and sunset in the more southern latitudes. Now, one of the first questions I wanted to address right while I'm on here is I get a lot of folks emailing me and asking me, why can't I see it here or why can't I see it there? Check that thing out, man. Now, that's the sunrise, so that could be one of the planets. I didn't do a stellarium on this, but I'm almost convinced those are planets because it looks to be in the same plane of the sunrise. But basically, what you see in these images, now, first of all, watch this one. This one is, we see the... first of all, the heavy chemtrailing, and this is just amazing imagery here that you'll see. This is the one, I think, from Leon. Now look at this, it's like a fleet of aircraft trying to hide whatever is behind this in this sunrise. Look at this. Is that incredible or what? Check out all those chemtrails, man. So if you're new to this kind of subject, which I think a lot of folks could be, what we're looking at, and the reason why we get excited about chemtrails is because we know that they're hiding something. And what you're going to see kind of rise up behind the sun here in this today's image, by the way, is a little red dot's going to start coming up behind the sun. And that little red dot is what they're trying to hide, because that, I believe, is the star that is responsible for all these planets that have been floating around in our solar system. There it is. See it? See it? See it? Right beyond the clouds there. Chemtrail. Hey, we can't let their people see this. We cannot let you see these two stars. Do you notice that there's actually two? There's one actually orbiting around the other one. Unbelievable, man. I just can't believe that this is... sometimes I can't believe it's even happening, man. You know what I mean? So anyway, here's that footage from Mexico. And again, folks, if you're new to this, what we have here is we believe we have a star system with one or two stars that's kind of coming into our solar system. And they're trying desperately to hide it from the public because they don't want to create mass hysteria and panic. But tonight we have to talk about it because I think it's getting close. I don't know when or exactly what day or anything like that, but I think it's close. Now here's what we're looking at straight from the bottom of the Earth, and what we see here is the Davis cam, and I want you to notice the objects that we're seeing from the South Pole. And again, I just pulled this down this afternoon so you could see it. Now check out these objects that start to show up in the South Davis cam. Now these, there's a lot of folks that want to try to dismiss this phenomenon. If you're not looking at it straight on, look for the objects in the middle and then the upper left here start to appear. I think the one in the upper left is the star. The one in the lower middle, I think, is a planet now. But you can actually see these objects behind the clouds. There's also a triangle on the bottom, and we'll look at that a little bit more in my still imagery that we'll talk about and leave up for a while so you can take a look. But so when you see stuff like this happening as a kind of somewhat intelligent person, I mean, I think I've average intelligence, and I start to see all this stuff happening, and you start to put the pieces together, you start to connect the dots together, and you start to wonder, why are they trying to hide this from you? I mean, just think about it for a while, man. It makes perfect sense, but at the same time, I'm the kind of person that I'd rather know than not know. And I know I look at this every day now because this has become kind of more and more my everyday thing to do. You know, and here we go. I mean, just check this out, man. The object will show up again. The triangle will show up again on the bottom. And again, these are pictures that I think are just stunning and riveting, and you know, and quite frankly, they're really interesting. So part of what you hear in my voice sometimes when we're talking about this subject is you'll hear excitement, or you know, kind of I'll get charged up about something or discovering something. I don't want you to think for a moment that I don't realize that this is also going to be a very cataclysmic event on the earth. I am very sensitive and empathetic to all that. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not going to be out of the way of fire. I'm going to be out in the open on the surface with everybody else. So, you know, I'm terrified, but I'm also a space geek, man. I love space. And to see another solar system, you know, coming into our solar system, that's pretty trippy, man. I mean, you have to admit, right? I mean, it's crazy. So, let's see if I actually show some more on this one here. Now, one of the things that's on this this particular clip, if hopefully it rolls here. Let's just do this. Let's go to this, and then we'll go back to this and see if it plays. Yeah, there we go. This is the trippiest one because we actually start to see this object, or the actual shape of what we're actually seeing behind the sun. And if you look off to the right of the sun, you'll see that little dot. That's the star, in my opinion, and it's refracting its light. And there's rings around. So if we're looking at kind of a mirror image of it, and you can see that this thing is just reacting strongly to the sun. And then as it follows the sun up, you'll see that little dot there. It's on the right now. It's at about the 5 o'clock position, starting to head to the 6 o'clock position. That little dot, that dot doesn't just stay white. It turns into, you can actually see a multicolored, you know, kind of orb. Not orb, but long, elongated, spherical type thing. And it's just crazy, man. I mean, so, you know, we're catching images like this, guys, and tonight's a night to ask questions about it. I'm studied up on it. There's a lot of folks that are studied up on it here. I'll talk about a couple of the scenarios that are kind of evolving, and, you know, like I said, ask questions. I think that's fine. So here's some of the best pictures that I think. So today, actually, this one that actually wrote in crayon, basically live on the top of the lower left-hand image, is where I got that just sharp refraction of what I believe is that white dot right at the 3 o'clock position of that image. And then the image above that, the reason I got so stoked about that one was because basically H1 was not showing any of those objects for a period of time, and then all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 frames where something seemed to like explode or something, and then all of a sudden you get this image, and there all of a sudden are objects there that weren't there before. And that's just amazing to me, you know. Hello Belinda, hello Eddie. I want to say hello to a couple of my buddies on here. Hey WTF Sky, it's always good to see you, honey. We got Shill Killer, my favorite. He and I, when I first started the channel, we both worked together very closely, and we do to this day. And it's good to see Nicholas Puello. Good to see you, man. Eddie B. Got a lot of folks coming on. Feel free to ask a question. Either I'll answer it or the audience will answer it, because there's a lot of folks that are, like I said, studied up on this subject. Now, tonight you're going to hear me rant because I don't have a guest tonight, and I think that's for a reason. I think there's a conversation that we need to have together, everybody. I think people need to vent. People need to share that it's scary and have questions answered, and that's why I'm doing this show tonight. Tonight's all about you, the viewers, answering questions, and then a little bit about me ranting. So the next image, this was from a couple months ago, but it was one of the images where I started to see the same kind of phenomenon that you see in the far left image, far left corner image on the bottom there, and then this one obviously is the one in the middle, on the lower middle there. That's one that really shocked me quite a bit. The one on the far right lower, the one that looks like a fist coming down from the sky with a cross in the middle of it, that one's weird because today I saw some footage from Portugal that actually showed red clouds mixing in with the regular thunder clouds and causing a, kind of a weird storm in Portugal. I don't know if anybody out there saw that. Annie McGrath, I know, right? So it's good to have you, Annie. Thanks for coming on. And Skylar Blue, good to see you. Kathy Jones, Michael Stringfield, good to see you too. So basically, what we got in that upper middle image is the Australian very clear shot I got in December. Okay. And in December, we could not see a lot of the stuff we're seeing now. We just saw this that I think is a planet, is the blue Chechnya or whatever they call it. I don't know, man. I really just look at this and say this is a biblical level event. We need to pay attention to it, and then all of a sudden we started seeing this big triangle on the bottom, which I believe is part of some kind of deception. I really do. I think they're setting up a hologram. What do you guys think? Put your notes up and tell me what you guys think that crazy triangle is that we see in the South Pole. The next image over, that's from that erupting volcano down in Mexico. My friend Veronica De Laurente sent this image to me, and it was compelling because it really, was a very bright object, either refracting and it's basically in that same kind of position that we see in the lower left-hand corner, where I am theorizing that little dot that then turns into kind of a multicolored plasma ball in the sky under the sun is the same object. So I just think it's the same thing. That's just me. So what do you guys all think? So Annie thinks agrees on the hologram issue. I really do think it's something that's being set up. And what's scary to me about that a little bit, or kind of ominous to me about that circle coming down on the pyramid, is it just reminds me of the some would say the Illuminati symbology, the satanic Luciferian belief system, whereby they're waiting for their chance to take over the world for their 7-year period, or whatever the myth is, or the Bible says, or whatever you believe. I certainly believe in the Bible as a fact, but I'm what you could call a mystic Christian, mystical Christian. I follow the traditions of some mystics that. And what a mystic basically is a person that they claim that they have a constant conversation with God back and forth. That's the way I've defined mystic. And the relationship with me and God is so close that it's like my best friend's riding shotgun with me at all times. I don't feel like I'm judged at anything I do. He is my buddy, but he's also a stern father. He's also corrects me, that kind of thing too. But if that kind of thing kind of turns you off, man, don't let it turn you off because I'm a Christian. If you have another belief system, I want you to feel welcome here, because in my worldview, it's my responsibility to treat you with grace no matter where you come from or what you do. So that's what I think about everything. I know I'm going to be ranting tonight. Remember I told you I get to rant? Okay. So brazen laver. This object is truly coming around the front. It's an object known to the ancients as the shadow of death. Yeah. Well, the Hopi Indians talk about it. I know that. I know that many indigenous peoples of North America talk about it. I know that certainly the Christian Bible and the ancient texts of the Sumerians talk about it. The Chinese talked about it in their writings. So there's a lot of people that have written about it. It's on cave walls. You know what I mean? So it's happened. This has happened before, everybody. I really believe that it's happened before. What do you guys think? Do you think this has happened before? Some people say that it happens every 3,600 years. Some people say it's the just recent Planet 9 researchers, the guys that just released the big to-do about Planet X, and saying that it has a 20,000-year orbit. Some people think, like Bill Brizard, that it has a 300 or 400-year orbit. That's what Eddie V is saying. Dude, I don't know, right? I really don't know, because I wasn't here 360 years ago, and nobody else on this thing was either. And so the question is, what was mankind here the last couple times that it came through? That's another question you have to ask, right? Oh man, I know many of you guys are still doubting it. Let me talk about that for a second. Let me talk about your doubting of it. There's 3 camps of people that I find that follow the Nibiru the Nibiru phenomenon, let's call it, okay, or the wormwood phenomenon, or the nemesis phenomenon, or whatever, right? The first camp of people would be people that are really skeptical. They're smart. They're aware. They're hearing stuff, but when they're presented with this evidence starkly and directly, cognitive dissonance kicks in, and they immediately react negatively to it. Because if you see something like this coming at you, even with the undeniable evidence, I think cognitive dissonance can knock you out. Now, there's two camps that go down that road. There's the people that will remain skeptical and keep researching it. That's the kind of person I was for many years and months. The person that was skeptical, I rejected it. I didn't think any of it was real. I wanted to get back to my life. I get it, right? And then there's the other group that just outright rejects it. Then there's this other group of people that are complete believers in this system, and they've been watching it for years. Some as far back as in the 30s, right? I'm sure a couple of them. But most of the people that you find that are into this Nibiru thing came around in the 2012 time frame. And then, and I actually have footage on some of the past videos. If you go back, you'll see footage from H1, which is a heliospheric satellite that follows basically follows the Earth in a fixed position around the sun, so you can see what's around it. And we saw some kind of a star system floating in to our solar system at a very high rate of speed. It went right over the sun, and then it did a big flare, and it just kept going. Well, I believe, and again, I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say. I believe that the government and the powers that be and the elite knew that that was just it coming in, and that it was going to be relatively harmless. But they still chemtrailed in 2012 and 2011. They still tried to hide it coming in, okay? And then they leaked the information out. They leaked it out slowly. And anybody who reads the Bible, or anybody that knows ancient texts, or anybody that ever watches conspiracy theories or anything like that, automatically go off like firecrackers in 2012. They're like, it's there, look at it, we can see it from all angles, and they just kept feeding the fire and feeding the fire. And then they got everybody to think about a date, and then they connected it to the Mayan date, and there's all kinds of very complex psychological operations that go into doing that kind of thing, okay? Just is. Because they knew it was actually going to come probably later. 2016, 2017 is what I'm thinking right now. And I don't have enough information to really make up a very solid prediction. But I do know we're seeing more phenomenon every day. We're seeing more earthquakes every day. Floods, all that, right? We know about the secret government preparations. We know about the tunnels in Russia. We know about the cities in China with people that don't live in them, but huge cities that have been built. Come on, man. I mean, corroboration, the whole idea that we're going to go through and we're going to put all this stuff together and make kind of an argument. I could win a case in any court of law that had a fair mind in the world with this information. Okay? So there's some people that believe. That's where I was, and that's where I was. Some people believed about it and were very open to it, but in 2012 got sucked in. And then what happened was, yeah, they were seeing it, but it wasn't in its dangerous phase, because as it came into the solar system, it came in hot, fast. Now it's going to go out slow. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit more dangerous time, right? So anyway, the people that believed, and those people that believed and still believe today, and corrected themselves, and acknowledged that maybe they jumped the gun a little bit. I get it. Okay? I get it. I still love you guys, man. Your heart's in the right place, and God bless you for seeing what you saw. I was not part of this movement in 2012, but I will tell you what I saw in 2012. I had just come off the great crash of 2007, 2008, and I had lost everything, and I had just gotten a job, and I was able to afford to move into a farm, and I was just getting on my feet in 2012. And I had been greatly humbled. I mean, there wasn't any ego left in me after that incident. And I got a job at a big Fortune, or not Fortune 500, but a very large private insurance concern. Moved on to cybersecurity, did all kinds of cool stuff. But in 2012, when we moved into this house, I can remember very, very clearly One night we walked out into the backyard. We were carrying in stuff to the house, and we saw this humongous aurora borealis that was just red, man. It was bright red, and it went right over our house. It was one of the kind of aurora borealises that just took up the whole sky, and you could see the magnetic lines of force from the Earth. And that happens to be the same time that we saw on H1 that body go by and do a flare right when it went by. So now I've connected the dots, and I think that that was the inbound. I saw that big aurora borealis over my house that night that was completely red, no other color. You know, I think that was it coming in, and now I think it's going out, and I don't know when it's going to go out. I don't know anybody. I don't think anybody outside of deep government circles and people that have been sworn in secrecy really do know when it's coming in and when it's ready to go out, rather. So anyway, so as I was telling you, you have people that believe before it. Then you have people that believe two things kind of in that camp that believe, and then people that have been recently picking it up lately. I'm sorry, I have to finish that thought too. There are people that are just picking it up like me in the last couple of years and didn't know anything about 2012. I had my head down. I was trying to get my life back in order. Lots of folks had to have their heads down during that time to try to get their lives back together again. I get it, right? And then there was this other group. Then as time has been going on and more evidence has been presenting itself, folks like me, the light bulbs are going on. WTF Sky talks about having a vision, a dream. Some people just noticed it one day. Other people looked at it, a YouTube video, and got more curious and started to research it. There's lots of folks like that. Okay. Now, if you really study this phenomenon, you really get deep into it, you're going to find out a couple names in here, and you've heard them a million times if you're a Wormwood watcher, and that is you have Sitchin, Zechariah Sitchin. You have another name, Harrington. Go Google these names, okay? But Harrington was the most interesting one, I think, of them all. And the reason for it is because he was deeply studying this approaching system in the probably working up to the 80s. And then he had actually been interviewed by Sitchin, who believes something we're going to talk about in a minute. But basically set up a infrared station in the South Pole. And the reason that he had to go to the South Pole or to the southern hemispheres to see it long ago is because there was no place on the Earth where you could have a telescope and see it. You had to go to the south. So that's why everybody that says that amateur astronomers would have been seeing this for years, it was approaching, like you said, I can't buy into that. Because if Harrington had to go to the South Pole to be able to do observations on this system when he was writing his paper back in '83, then I would have a hard time believing any astronomer has access, or many astronomers have access to the South Pole, right? So when you look at that middle cam on the top images that I've got up there, that middle one, that South Pole station, it's coming just like that. It's coming straight up from the bottom of the Earth. That's where it's coming from, man. Who's got a telescope down there? So anyway, so this thing's approaching the Earth, and we were talking about. Okay, so now this guy named Zechariah Sitchin, he believed that, and dug up old Sumerian text, and was a translator of Sumerian text supposedly, and he went through and he learned all about the Sumerians, what they wrote about it, and they had this race of people called the Anunnaki, who were said to in these writings enslave humans and use them for menial tasks like mining gold. Okay. And then genetically modified human beings and then left. And now they're going to come back. That's what the Sitchinites believe. Sitchin also believes that the system is far off, still maybe 60, 70 years off in his calculations. But again, we're seeing the phenomenon that would suggest otherwise, I believe. Then on the other side of this whole this discussion is the religious side, okay, the spiritual side, the people that are either spiritual from a Muslim point of view, from a Jewish point of view, from a Judeo-Christianic point of view, from a indigenous people, like the indigenous people that my friend Mark Reed tells me about, Australia and from America and the Hopi Indians and all of these religious, spiritual people that talk about this event. Okay? Now, there's a big range in there. Remember the Anunnakian point of view? So a Christian would say, first of all, the Christian point of view is we believe that this is a fulfillment of the foretelling of the book of Revelation. So the reason that Christians get so excited about these events is because we believe they foretell biblical events that are, been foretold for centuries to happen at the end of the age. And we call the study of the end of the age eschatology. Okay? And Emre Durkel, thank you for the comment. And I believe this to be true as well. Now, what Enrique just told me was that we might be the sixth epoch or seventh epoch of man, and 7 destructions that happen. There's nothing that prevents theologians of the Bible to believe that we have been here longer than 6,000 years. And I wish the stupid Scopes trial, I wished I was the one arguing for Christianity, because I would have said that don't ever put God in a box. That's the worst thing you could ever do. He hates that. I know him pretty well. Remember, I'm a Christian mystic. There's one thing you don't do. You don't tell him what to do. You don't tell him how to do it, man. You just don't. I don't care what religion you are. Hindu, Buddhist, you just don't tell the Great Spirit what to do. You just don't do it. Anyway, that's my rant right there, right? One of my rants. So anyway, the Hindus also have a similar kind of, eschatology belief or eschatological belief, and that is the presence of Shiva, the destroyer, which is part of the 3 great Godhead that they have, a triune type of top of the chart thing going on, and Shiva's the one that destroys everything to cleanse the earth. The Buddhists believe it too. So there's all kinds of people that believe this event in different perspectives, but primarily I want to draw out 2 groups right now. There's the people that are starting to think that we came from a different source, that there's this group called the Anunnaki, or they're going to come back and give us knowledge and protect us and help us, and that they're going to be, that kind of helpful alien race. There might even be the possibility that we're going to say that it's an alien invasion, similar to what we heard, the paperclip guy, Aaron von Braun, the rocket guy who told his secretary famously that they're going to fake an alien invasion. This might be the prelude to it. Who knows, right? By the way, I can't support Sitchin either, by the way. But anyway, so you've got the Anunnakians and the aliens and the UFOs and all that kind of stuff, and then you've got the Christians. And the Christians believe that what you do is you reach back into the books like Enoch and the Book of Giants and other Revelation and the Book of Genesis, funny enough, and you can actually see evidence that these are actually fallen beings that rebelled against God and came to the earth before, and they've had offspring before. They call the Nephilim. So I know both of those stories, right? I know both of them. The question is, what story are we going to believe, right? What story are we going to believe? Because I think it's going to go down. How is the government going to react to this stuff? How is private industry going to react to this? Is there going to be some kind of a great apostasy where they're going to say that aliens are here now and blah blah blah, right? What's going to happen? So that's the argument between the Anunnaki, and I'm interested to see your guys' point of view. Otherwise, I'm going to keep ranting. So we got Michael saying go to King's Observatory in Georgia. Something's falling from the sky. If you guys are on All Sky Cam, go take a look. Yahweh wife, they talk the earth. They walk the earth wrapped in human flesh. Okay, yeah. So a Christian would say, the ones that have been studying this phenomenon, that we know the quote-unquote aliens have been here for a while. They're actually fallen angels, that they've actually taken human form, and that they're among us right now, planted. That's what Christians would say. Natalie Koss, that Shiva statue at CERN, has a ring around it like the dust cloud to react to our atmosphere. Yeah. So that CERN thing, if anybody isn't familiar with that, the CERN point is that they have a statue at CERN that's actually Shiva doing her destruction dance, and she's got a ring around it. A lot of folks find that kind of suspicious, that they would have to put Shiva on the CERN thing, you know? So, nothing on the all sky cam ARP tree? Okay. Well, which sky trim are you talking about, man? So Brazen Laver says, "Yeah, I think that too. I think that this is the deception, guys. I really do, man. I think they're going to come off try to play themselves off as aliens and that are here to help us. I think they've been deceiving our government for a long time. I think it's time for us to take our government back, by the way, in the United States. It's time for them to let go. This black budget stuff's got to go, man. It's bad." All right, everybody. So yeah, I just want to get close, face, personal. Let's see what else we got here. Did you guys hear about Roberto from Italy and the crop circles that he decoded in July of 2017? The second sun he predicts is going to hit our sun. Ooh, a sun collision. Sun to sun collision has been put on the table before. I can't help that if they're indeed getting closer, that they're going to interact with each other. Now going back to the science side of this thing and away from the spiritual side for a minute. I can't help but think that there's going to be plasma, there's going to be magnetic lines of force between the two, and probably a lot of really strange sights in the sky as a result of it. That's what I think. Let's look at some others. Offski Quickski. I just got. Ooh, well, I got to go back and get Offski Quickski's comment here because that looked like it could be fun. I got 2 Albanian trotting donkeys off eBay. I'm a mystic, man. I'm not a dummy. Yeah, I think to Ted Casper's point of view, I do think that they're going to interact, but collision between 2 stars, I don't think would be. I don't think is what's going to happen here. I think the more danger is from the debris, the iron oxide dust, and the meteor activity, and some electromagnetic activity. And then we totally forget. Okay, let's start with something here that I think is important to talk about. I do not believe this is the end of the world, by the way. By any means do I believe that this is the end of the world. I think that it's the beginning of the end of the world, though. Because out of this ash heap, man, that happens after this thing, right? Something's going to happen. I'm more worried about what humans are going to do than anything else. Humans are where the most danger is going to come. I think there's going to be cataclysm and there's going to be a lot of stuff going down. But I mean, I think that what the humans do is going to be by far more dangerous. Just the Truth talks about don't drink the water. Okay, so in the Bible and in other texts, it talks about, and also the geological record, talk about this iron oxide dust that will spread everywhere and basically poison the water. And so I went and did some research last summer about iron oxide poisoning. And I learned about this thing called decleants. And decleants, I have not been able to find them where you could get them in the open market without but basically these decleants are, if I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but basically you take them and they will prevent you from dying from iron oxide poisoning. That's why it's going to be important that you're going to have to have the ability to get clean water and filter the water, or get water that's been that's been cleansed in some way, or have access to it. So that's what I think. Gail Johnson, no pole shift, Steve. Well, all right, let me put it to you this way, Gail. The pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, I think are older than the last time that this thing came through. Okay, let's just say that I'm right about that. The pyramids are older than the last time that this thing came through. Well, the pyramids are still perfectly aligned to the various stars through those little portals that shoot out through different parts of the pyramids and line up with the different stars that seem like they were intended to line. It lines up perfectly north, south, east, and west, and all those grids with these old structures. Am I saying that pole shift won't happen? No, of course not. I wouldn't say that because science has proven that pole shifts happen. I just don't know when one would happen to the Earth or if this would be a prelude to it. Okay? So the Earth could have a pole shift from this. We know that the North Pole and the South Poles are changing right now magnetically. We know that we have a magnetic shift in poles every cycle, so often. Okay, so do I think there'll be a literal Earth shifting pole shift? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not sure of that. I'm still skeptical of that theory. What I do think is we're going to get shooken around like a drunkard. I think that we're going to get our butts shaken, and I think we're going to see some volcanic activity, and I think we're going to see a lot of just weird activity, things that we would not have expected to see, or nor can we guess what we're going to see. Offski Quitsky says buy paper filters and double them up for filtering. Yeah, filter your water. You're going to be able to filter your water, clean it. What about all the structures on Mars? Great question. Excellent question. Rewired port, by the way. All right. So I've been studying, as a space geek, I've studied the moon since 1965, 66, whatever. I was born in 64. I can remember the Apollo program. I can remember seeing the guys land on the moon. I'm old enough for all that kind of stuff, right? And you know, I still think to this day the greatest accomplishment that that man has ever done has been the United States putting men on the moon and bringing them safely to the Earth. Okay, but that's loaded with controversy, and I'm going to say I take the side that Apollo was a real thing, that the missions went, and that they saw a lot there that they didn't tell us about. Okay. And that there's more on the moon than what we know, and there's lots of videos on the internet about what's on the moon, structures on the moon, and so forth. Similarly, we see potential structures and so forth on Mars. Okay, well, first of all, I would tell you that the Bible does not address extraplanetary life at all that I know of, other than talking about the second heaven or fourth heaven and those kinds of things. So you can't say that there wasn't a civilization on Mars at one time. That's just stupid. Why would you say that? Scientist or religious nut, I don't care which one it is, you're just not smart enough to know what's happened on Mars in the last, I don't know, million years or so. And we think that actually, there's folks, when I say we, there's a lot of us that think that Mars was actually destroyed because it was a close pass by one of the planets in the system, and that it had an interplanetary plasmic burst that caused a big scar across the side of it. Go check out the Thunderbolt project, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, there were structures on Mars. I believe there was a civilization there. It's none of my business what God put there. He only wants me to focus on the human race right now. So when you talk about the human race, here's what I believe. I believe that the human race has gone through cycles before. I've seen some really cool stuff from Graham Hancock and from his colleagues about, one of the cataclysms that just happened 12,500 years ago, where we think that was actually the timing of the flood from the scientific record. And what happened was the Earth was cataclysmically flooded because it was hit by an asteroid or a large body, and it hit right around in the Hudson Bay area of Canada, which at the time was about a 2-mile high sheet of ice. It melted it and flooded the Earth, let the Earth out of the St. Lawrence Seaway, and flooded the Earth with fresh water. And that's why we have this mythic flood story around the Earth from several cultures, not just Christianity, not just Judeo-Christianity. Okay? So I get all that. Now here's what I believe, though. I believe that we don't have a perfect view of history. We only know a little bit. And I think what happened was there was an advanced civilization on the Earth 12,500 years ago. I think they possibly were traveling to other planets. I believe a lot of the technology that these Anunnaki or interdimensional beings or aliens was actually stolen from human beings. What do you think of them apples? And I think humans have been off this planet before. I think we made it to Mars. I think we made it to the moon. I think we built stuff there. But it was in other epochs, 12,500 years ago. There's rumors that there was technology in Noah's Ark. It wasn't just an ark made out of wood with animals, but there was technology there, man. I think this arrogance of thinking that we're the only epoch of mankind that ever lived is just arrogant. Arrogant. That's what I think about the structures on the moon. My theory is the structures on the moon and the structures on Mars are actually put there by men that traveled there in other epochs. Right now, we're dealing with the current epoch, which was dominated by the idea, the principle that mankind needs to be developed and humbled before God so that we can move on to the next phase of our existence. That's what I believe. Yeah, so let's get back to we're talking about the bunkers being tombs and so forth. If you think that you're going to live in a bunker, you might very well live through the event in a bunker. I don't know, but I don't know if I want to be in a bunker, man. I'm not the kind of person that could sit in a hole and not know what was going on outside. That would drive me bananas. I'd rather be out where the meteors are falling and dust is flying, and you know what I mean. I'd rather see it happening and know what's happening. That's kind of the way I am. And even though it's going to be scarier than heck, man, and I'm going to be terrified crapping my pants with the rest of you guys, um, rather be on the surface. EP Emsley. I was thinking about some of this stuff, EP. EP asks, you'll know the end is near when the British royal family or other, let's just say any dignitaries start to disappear. I believe that's probably true. I would be looking at, speaking schedules of the Rockefellers, and if they cancel at the last minute, I've been thinking about all the different ways that you could start to get the cue that they're running to the hole, that they're starting to run into their holes. Arwayne, thanks for the comment on Human Genome Project, humans and hybrids and so forth. All right, so I adhere to the kind of the beliefs of the Marzulis of the world that talk about that this has been a genetic war from the beginning, and the battle that's going on, the interstellar, intergalactic, heaven, hell, all that kind of battle is going on over genetics. And basically, what the devil wanted to do in the Christian view was not only did the devil want to try to convince us we were God, and thus causing us to lose our focus on the true God and start to focus on ourselves and our flesh, which then turns into death and misery. God has not caused any death or misery on this earth. Every piece of death and misery has come from the hands of mankind. And I refuse to hear anything about God like that. If God wants to smash a planet, he'll go ahead and smash a planet. He's God. He can do what he wants to do. All right? But he's not that way. And that's what the gospel was. The gospel of Christians that I know, and then I'll get back to this whole idea of genetic battle. The whole idea of the gospel for the true Christian believers that I know, the ones that don't identify necessarily with the denomination or any kind of a framework, but just have met the true Jesus Christ, typically what they're going to tell you is the gospel is the idea that God is way better than I thought he ever could be. And when I found out what God was really like, there was no choice for me but to give my heart to him in love and compassion. That's what Christians believe. True Christians believe that. And they've come to him and they've gotten to know him and they've had a relationship with him. And a lot of them are afraid to tell you that they talk and he talks back to them. But you start to get to know the nature of God after a while when you get to know him. And one of the things I've learned about God is do not put him in a box, number one. And number two, man, he is so in love with the human race, it's not even funny. Okay? And the gospel was him telling us that in no uncertain terms. That was why we call it the good news, because he said, peace to the human race. I want you to come in the door. However, now things are different. Okay? What we're talking about now is eschatology. And in eschatology, what we have is an end series of events and sequence of events that are happening as a result of a war that's happening in the heaven and the earth. And that war has to do with principalities and powers and rulers in high places, what the Bible talks about as actual rulers, spiritual rulers, fighting for their position and wanting to create a race of their own. And so they genetically manipulated man in the last couple of decades, since the United States won World War II, at least this is the way the story goes. And I kind of adhere to it, and have been building human hybrids. And these hybrids are nothing more than Nephilim. They're human slash angelic DNA, if you will. I mean, for lack of a better word. So that's what we think. That's what Christians believe. So, yeah, Annie. Yes, just ban Jesus. That's something else I want to talk about. Why is the world getting so focused on Luciferianism? It's always existed out there, okay? I always knew that there were Satanists and Luciferians. But when I started to find out that it's so high in government, like in the British Parliament, and the pedophilia, and the ritualistic rape, and all the things that you're hearing coming out of the high places across the West, in the royal circles, and then also in the high levels of the United States government, and all kinds of horrible things happening in the Vatican and other like high ruling institutions across the earth, it starts to make you wonder who they're worshiping, man, and it starts to make you wonder who their God is and why they do what they do. This is why my atheist friends and my Hindu friends and my friends that I have from all other faiths and religions and creeds have a hard time with Christianity because it's been besmirched. Jesus didn't come to hurt. He came to save. He's still saving, man. He's doing it right now. So, I'm on a rant. And I get to be on a rant. Because it's my show right now. I'm going to rant. Oh. Let's talk a little bit about evidence too, right? So let's talk. First, I want to talk about the trolls for a second, right? I figured out what the whole tactic is. And what it is they'll take a guy like me, or they'll take a person like WTF Sky, or like Shill Killer, or one of these guys, and we're starting to put videos because we're freaked out. So that's, if you go back to the beginning of my videos, you'll see my evolution of freak out, learning what I was seeing, evolving into a point of view. So I don't say any of my past videos were necessarily the most accurate, but I was seeing phenomenon that needed to be looked at, and I made friends through the process. Anyway, what I found is trolls, what they do is they'll take the uninitiated, the ones that are susceptible to cognitive dissonance, and what they'll do is they'll plant the seed of doubt right away in their minds. Why are you looking at this stuff right now? This is stupid. What a moron. That's a lens flare. Let me share something with everybody on the show. When I put a video on, I usually try to find 2 or 3 triangular points of evidence. So when you say that one thing's a lens flare, then I'll flash back to Davis and then say, what's that big circle? And then you'll say, you're not seeing the right part of H1. And I'll say, what about this frame where it shows something that wasn't there in all the other frames? And you might say to me, well, you can't see it, and you only saw it in one webcam in Mexico, so that can't be right. And that's this cognitive dissonance sometimes, and this is trolling on the other side sometimes, okay? Sometimes trolls do this. Sometimes people with cognitive dissonance do this. I get it, okay? I'll get to Zeke in a minute. That's my German Shepherd downstairs. He likes to be on the show sometimes too, and my bird's screaming his head off. It's kind of funny how this happens. So you have this cognitive dissonance happening that allows you, and if a troll just kind of punches one little piece of hole, let me remind anybody who's going to watch this show or is watching this show or listening to this show that I believe in corroboration, and you need to look at many different points of view, and I was a skeptic. And it took like 5 or 6 different things before I finally was convinced. And then I opened up my Bible again and I saw Revelation. So, Offski Quickski, talking about the banking system and the Rothschilds and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. The whole banking system's corrupt. I get it, man. I totally get it. I got a silver certificate the other day. Actually, it was really, really blessed my heart. And it was from 1933 when we still backed the United States dollar with silver certificates, and we were not the global reserve currency, okay? And it just blessed me to see something that was issued by the U.S. Treasury and not by some private bank. Because right now what you're holding in your hands is U.S. debt. If you have $1 in your hand, that's debt to the U.S. Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a private bank. It is supported by the 5 major banks, like Citibank, Morgan, the Rothschilds, that kind of thing. So, man, if you can't see that stuff going down, you're not going to see any of this Nibiru stuff coming down. And I feel like a lot of folks are just going to be caught dead-footed, not even knowing what's going on. And there's very few of us, man. Even with my viral videos, that's only 30,000 people. You know what I mean? It's not like anybody that's going to have a huge, significant, voice in the world. Not a big threat to them, Sly Lucky, do you think people of Hollow Earth will go out when it's going to be here? Yes. Yes, I do. There are people. There are all kinds of. So the Bible talks about creatures coming out and everything like that. So there we go. Yahweh wife rather. I'm so in love with him. Me too, Yahweh wife. I'm totally in love with Jesus. But again, I want to make sure that you know if you're not a Jesus lover, like a lot of the folks are going to be on here, I want you to feel like you can be here with us, man. We're not. I'm not judging you. You are my guest in my home. Please stay here with me. Okay. Okay, the Zika virus. Man, I've been hearing all kinds of crazy stuff about the Zika virus. I don't even know where to come down on it. Um, just very strange altogether. I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, Scott Finlaw again. I believe it's monopoly money. It's not. There's no value to it. However, that explains a big part of the kind of the cataclysm and the events is it does have something that backs it up. The U.S. dollar is a petrodollar. It's backed up by the fact that the Saudis and OPEC and other countries around the world will only accept U.S. dollars as the oil purchasing unit. And there are, I think, going to be four currencies that would be able to fit that role. But if the dollar lost its primacy as the federal or as the global reserve currency in the way you buy oil, it would threaten the United States. And I think that's probably what's happening right now in world politics right now. It's all about that. Yeah, Enchanted Journey talks about BPE Earthwatch. I'm not patient with people bad mouthing people that are trying to tell the truth. People are going to make mistakes here and there. BP is one of my favorites. Oh, the narrow path, Gloria is his name. Have you looked into the Mother Shipton prophecies? Yes, I have, in fact. And apparently she predicted this stuff. Right? Natalie Koss, I found Admiral Byrd's diary in storage at my Eastern Michigan University. The websites are correct on what they say, the diaries say about the North Pole. Interesting. What was that, Natalie? What did they say? I'm not familiar with that. Shill Killer wants me to bring snacks next time. Well, Shill, you know what? Go get your own snacks. I'm gonna loop my Shill Killer has got enough money to buy his own snacks, everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and start looping this while we're talking, you guys. Give you something else to look at again. I'm just having a ranting session. Agent Smith, welcome Bitcoin. What about the woolly mammoths walking around? Okay. Woolly mammoths. Maybe what you mean, Natalie, is that there were woolly mammoths walking around when the good admiral went there. Got it. Um, a lot of evolution, extinction data was manipulated by the Darwinists. It's known fact. I mean, come on, man. First time here. What are we watching? All right. So what you're seeing here is a sunrise from today, and what you're seeing, just to kind of repeat it, is you're going to see the sun come up, and behind it, you're going to see the another star that's not supposed to be there, and it's coming towards us with the solar system. That's what's being played up here, Deanna. But Deanna, we're talking about Wormwood. We're talking about Nemesis. We're talking about Planet X and Nibiru, and why things are happening. Why this all makes sense. Nike view on things. Nice comment. We are seeing. Look at those chemtrails on this picture, man. I just can't get over it. It's like a fleet of chemtrails. You're telling me there's no chemtrails, man? I can't get over that. No. A lot of rare earthquakes, like I was showing on one of my videos this week. I think you'll see it. By the way, this sun that's coming up, you guys look behind it, and at about 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and you'll see the second star, which I think is Wormwood, coming up. Um, so, Willard Reynolds. I believe the two witnesses are coming, and with them the ability to control the climates of the world. This is what the Pope is fearing, the false prophet Pope. Okay, let's push the Vatican stuff aside for the second. And I'm not. Trust me. I do believe that they've been withholding all kinds of information from the human race, from Alexandria, and all kinds of stuff. Look at that red thing coming up, man. But there, in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it talks about two witnesses that are going to have the power over the earth and being able to actually preach the gospel. They'll be preaching it, and the reason that the earth is going to be just like no, no, no is because I think they're already going to have been kind of convinced that the earth is as aliens, not all Christians, and anybody who has a Judeo Christianic, Muslim, Hindu, any kind of a belief system like that is dangerous and has to be eliminated. That's what I think is going to happen. It's not funny, man, but all I can do is laugh because I don't know what else to do. Oxyquiski talks about dinosaurs with ages of 800 years. Yeah, man. I mean, who knows the timeline of all that stuff, you know? Guys, there's a freaking planetoid system coming towards us right now. So I think it's time for us to stop arguing about, dinosaurs on walls and where the origins of man. We've got a planetary system coming towards us. It's time to talk about spiritual preparation, physical preparation. Everything else can go to the tank, as far as I'm concerned. All right, Jeremiah Puddle Duck. Used to be pink sky in the morning, shepherd's warning, pink sky at night. What does it mean when it's the morning, during the day, whatever? Yeah, there's all these sayings about pink and red. That was because it was so rare to see a red sunrise or sunset, and there were reasons for red sunrises and sunsets in the world's history. There could be a volcanic eruption causing a red sunset because of the volcanic ash in the earth. There could be a cloud from space that just happened to pop into the Earth's atmosphere. Good example of that is Mars. When we hit that outside orbital position, sometimes what happens when we align with Mars in the outside orbital position, it blows its freaking the solar wind blows Mars dust onto the Earth and causes a red sunset. I get it, man, but not every freaking day. Not every freaking day, in every place on the Earth. So to say that red sunrises are normal is false. To say that they're happening every day in various places around the world is true. It just so happens that validates the iron oxide theory. So there you go. Thank you for all your work. You're welcome, guys. It's my pleasure to do this, and I'm humbled by it, quite frankly. I'm humbled and to get the opportunity to do it, quite frankly. I never saw myself doing anything like this in my life. Shield Killer, shoot your dragon question out. Greeny sky in the morning means nuclear warning. That was funny. Oh, Lord. That was funny. Let's see what else we got out there. Alright, so we got Asteroid TX68, which, if you're into this community, you know that Thor News has been talking about, BP's been talking about, some others have been talking about. This one looks dangerous. I mean, it's definitely going to be close. I don't know if it's the mountain that the Book of Revelation is talking about, but if it strikes the Earth, it's definitely going to be a newsmaker, and it's going to cause probably some harm. It's a very, very... Oh, wow. Tammy, if that's true, if NASA took it off the charts, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, so I didn't know that. Caesar A, I don't think T68's wormwood. No, it's not. It's a meteorite, I don't know, was it 60 foot long or something like that? Agent Smith, just pray, pray, pray. Dang right, man. Thor News cracks me up too, WTF. Brazen Laver says G1.9 is code for Planet X. I've heard that before. Good guys worried about TX68. Well, what are you going to worry about, man? I mean, either it hits, it doesn't. You're at the coffee store, boom, you go. It's time for us not to get to a point where we don't worry about our own deaths anymore. You ask me, well, how do I get to a point where I'm not afraid of my own death anymore? That's another question. Just the Truth talks about blood red snow that's appearing on the mountaintops in Chile and around the world. Yep, I had that on a video. Very, very strange, but again, validates the iron oxide theory. 1999 JU3, according to Brazen Layer, is wormwood. So if you guys have the ability to look at different ways of looking at telescopes and so forth, check it out. Venezuela's out of food. Caesar, really? No food at the grocery stores in Venezuela. Is that right, Caesar? Wow. Man, if that's true. That's not cool at all. Siri, Siri CD. Can't God stop this if enough of us pray? All right. I got a, I got a comparison to make where I think Christians are right now. True Christians. True Christians. I'm not trying to make a club elitist or anything like that. I didn't mean the way it sounded. What I mean are people that really, really want to seek God and really are open to his voice and will listen to him and all that. I'm just talking about people like that, right? I think we're kind of in this what we call Gethsemane moment. I think that we're on the Mount Olive if you're a Christian and we are praying, God, let this cup pass from us, but if it's your will, let it be done. Well, Jesus had to go through a Gethsemane moment. I think the church is going through a Gethsemane moment right now. We see it. Those that have ears to hear, we're seeing it coming. We're telling everybody, but we also know it's not going to be good. And there's nothing I can say to make that better. But it's a necessary lancing of the boil, I guess, that happens from time to time. Who's prepped or who going by the seat of your pants? I don't know, man. How much prepping is enough prepping to do, right? I think there's common sense stuff like water filtration. I think having beans, rice, those kinds of things stored up for a long siege is good. But I think that's good no matter what you do. The earth is a very volatile place. Lots of bad stuff happens on the earth. And, you should be prepared for disasters. If you ever lived in the hurricane coast, they're ready to go at all times. So why is that so bad to prep? I don't know. Prep your hearts out, man. This is part of God's judgment. Praying against it won't stop it. Yeah, you know what? Purple Star Eye, Karen Jones, who I see all over the place. Yeah, that's what I think too. It's just the way it rolls, man. Natalie, I plan on growing mushrooms. That's one way to deal with it, I suppose. Yeah, Willard Reynolds brings up a point. It just seems like war, war, war. It's like this whole everything is war, 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 and building up to this. I believe that all of the war, all the rumor of war, is just a way to distract people from what's going on. And we know that governments will do wars to distract people. It's been done a million times. This event is no different. Wayne Stiegler, like cooking utensils like rocket stoves or the Coleman propane stoves and lights, those are always good. Again, things that don't rely on electricity grid or things that can crank up, that kind of stuff, or things that can be um, uh, you know fueled with stuff that you can be able to find. Again, I don't think this is the end of the world. Oh man, Shill, can you ask it again? Because I missed it, man. Let me see. Shill asked a question. Where I'm going back, Shill. Give me a second. I give Shill. Okay, El Nino sets, El Nino rises. We should be seeing lots of things at once. What's your interpretation of the horned dragon? I think that the horned dragon is just a manifestation of the cloud, or one of the manifestations of the cloud. That's the way this thing goes through the air. It causes a cloud that causes like look like an animal or a dragon, but it's bright and ugly looking. El Nino, El Nina. So the Pacific Ocean is warmed up crazy, and it did so in the last, as I remember, the last 6 months. Remember, we went from the drought in California because it was dry and the ocean was cool. Now the ocean is super hot, like it's being supercharged, and it's causing a lot of precipitation. Bean soup, bean burrito, bean dip, bean tacos, bean enchilada, bean tortillas, bean everything. So my vision is to actually, if we survive, if we get through it and stuff, is I would like there to be a refugee center here, and I'll help people until it's time to go. What about the third Fatima secret? Come on, man, really? The third Fatima secret. Okay, so I was raised Catholic, right? And we used to look at Medjugorje, and we used to look at Fatima, and I was with a mystic priest, Father Tim, And by the way, never had any bad experiences with the Catholic Church. I had a good experience. Never was raped or anything like that. But anyway, so I knew about this stuff when I was really little. I used to be totally fascinated with it and saw these girls falling over on their back 6 inches off the ground, all kinds of wild stuff. And the third secret of Fatima, come on, man, it's this. It's this. Let's not be stupid anymore. Pretend like it's not happening. Now, Ed, if you're right on El Niños every 1 to 5 years, let's track it. Let's see how long this one goes. Japanese satellite Ryugu is set to land on 1999 JU-3 just to drill. That's interesting. Yeah, yep, raised in the Catholic Church. A lot of, So there's a thing about the Catholic Church. It's like, on the one hand, they were responsible for a lot of the canon of Scripture, making it through the Dark Ages and all that. On the other hand, I think they were responsible partially for the Dark Ages, so kind of ironic. Mary Puello, I tried to take pics with my phone. Sky was blood red. Sun was red. Red and oink clouds. Red and pink rainbow. No color showed up. No cloud patterns show up red. Interesting. Interesting. Some kind of a optical illusion caused by the stuff they're pumping in the atmosphere. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Arc Tree, Catholic Church. I met. Okay, here's the way I look at all Christian denominations. All of them. Okay? There are some of the most beautiful Christians I know are Catholic. Some of the worst Christians I know are Baptist. Some of the best Christians I know are Baptist. Some of the worst Christians I know are Catholic. So, when it comes to the people of these religions, of these groups, you got your good and bad, you got your sheep and your goats in every one of them. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're from LDS or whatever, there's good and bad in every one. Same thing in the Catholic Church. There's good people that have good hearts, that are feeding the poor, that are doing great things, and then you got pedophiles that are raping people and all that. So good and evil is to be found everywhere in this earth. We tasted of the garden of good of the knowledge of good and evil, and this is what it got us. Carol G, there are people who don't believe in this, right? Cognitive dissonance, or they just don't want to believe, or who knows? I mean, and is it a belief, or is it the examination of facts? I don't want to call it I believe in Nibiru. I look at the photographs that you're seeing right there, some of the better ones I've seen, and I just say, what is going on, right? Yeah, Lori talks about her husband out and out saying he wants to live. That's where a lot of my family is. They just want to stay away from it. I totally get that. Yeah, too many religions, Tammy. I have to agree with that. But here's the religion I want to kind of focus on as we draw to the close or pretty soon to the end of this. And I want to focus on this just for a minute, man. All right, I want everybody that's listening to this program just for a minute, entertain me, okay? Just entertain me for a moment and close your eyes, okay? Just do it. And I want you to ask from your heart and with your mouth yourself right now. Ask, Jesus, God, are you real? Just do it. Honestly ask him if he's real and if he's there and if he's ready to speak with you, and you will be shocked to find out what you will find out from that. And the people that say there is no God, that is the most arrogant damn thing I've ever heard out of anybody's freaking mouth in my whole life. There is no God? Who the hell made you so powerful and so freaking all-knowing that you could call that there's no God? I barely know 1% of 1% of 1% of anything in the whole universe, and I can't tell you what's out there, what's not out there. And I don't have a problem with people talking about aliens. Did you ever hear what happened when Isaiah went in front of the Lord? He saw many-headed beasts. There's all kinds of weird creatures. Who is Melchizedek in the Old Testament, Christians? Who was he? Why did Abraham have to bring a sacrifice to Melchizedek? Tell me. Who are these people? Why does the book of Revelation talk about the 7 spirits and the 7 churches of God? Stop limiting God. You don't get to call the shots, baby. You're not in charge. Especially you guys that say there is no God. What an idiot. What a fool. You're a fool because you think you know everything. You can't learn anything until you don't know anything. Don't you know anything? Man, I get so sick of people arrogantly saying this or saying that. And the other thing I want to talk about is dogma. You know what? God's been talking to me a lot about dogma lately. You know, you got your beliefs. You got your, Seventh-day Adventists. You got your this. You got your that. You got people believing all kinds of crap. Do you really think God Almighty gives a rat's ass what you think? Honestly? Do you really think God cares what you think he thinks? Because let me tell you something, man. The God that I know, the God that I talk about, is like a wild goose. That's what Paul called him. A wild wind. You don't know which direction he's going to go in at any freaking time. You can only know a couple things about God for sure. That he is love, number one. He's compassion. He is compassion and love. He is all that. Any good feeling that you've ever had has come from God. Any feeling of brotherhood has come from God. So anything good in this world has come from him, if you like it or not. Okay? But people that have dogma, or fanatics that have dogma, or people that think that they can tell by a formula what God is going to do and not going to do, you are a fool. You're even worse than the atheist if you think that you can tell God what to do, what rules he's going to follow, how he's going to take care of people, or what he's going to do. The only thing you can know for sure about God is he loves you. That's the only thing you get to know. For sure, that's all you get to know. The rest of it's an adventure, bro. It's an adventure. Now, you can join in this adventure with God, or you can sit by yourself in this stinky little hole called Earth and think it's the only thing left. I prefer to think that there's many, many, many more evolutions and ascensions that we're going to go through as a human race. And I believe that the human race is special to God. Very special to God. The most special to God. Because I think we're going to be his companions for eternity. Right? So that's what God is all about, in my opinion. So this event's coming to cleanse the earth. That's right. That's part of its purpose, for sure. Now, Gail, an interesting thing. There's two, never fear God ever. I believe that with all my heart. We can run right to the throne of grace. There was a big price paid for that. You can go right to God right now. Like I said, close your eyes and try the experiment, okay? Close your eyes and ask Jesus to come, God to come, the Holy Spirit to come, the Spirit of God to come. You ask him to come and tell me what happens. Tell me what happens to you. I'd like to know. 80 years is a blink of an eye when compared to eternity. You know what? Great Bay, 1961. I didn't want this to turn into a revival service because we're talking about a scientific problem, but you're right. You're absolutely right. 80 years is nothing. That 60, 70, 80 years that we get if you're lucky and you don't die in a tractor accident or a mower accident or you don't fall and down and dry. You know what I mean? It's a very small percentage of the humans that live to 80. So we think we know everything. Give me a break. Give me a break, man. We don't know anything. The only thing we know is that we're little teeny children in this universe. That's the only thing I think we can know. Derek's talking about fornicators. You know what? Yeah, right? Talks about all the people that can't make it into heaven. You know, the fornicators, the haters, the blah, 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 all that good stuff. Stop worrying about it, man. God will sort it out. Your heart and God's heart, he wants to know you, man. The last thing he said, and again, I didn't mean to get into a preachy time tonight. I want to talk and answer questions. We'll answer a few more after I'm done with this last rant, okay? The only thing God's asking you for is your humility. Don't think you're God. That's it. Approach him with an open heart and mind, and you will find him. That's the way it works. And everything else, who knows, right? Jeremiah Puddle Duck. Keep hearing about Jesus the groom. Is he going to get married? Yeah. No, listen to this, okay? Humans have such a hard time with parables and stuff with Jesus. So Jesus talks about the metaphor of marriage. And in the last day that he's going to marry his bride, the church. Well, let's go back to the beginning of Genesis. In Genesis, God created man in his own image, if you remember. And then later on, he says, it's not good that man should be alone. So he made Eve. Remember that in the Bible? I believe it's not good for God to be alone. And that's why he made us. To be his companion forever. Because it's not good that God should be alone. Purple star eye. Yeah, amen. Surrender. Not my will, but the Father's will. I mean, that's just exactly the way that Jesus taught us to pray, man. And if you think you're bigger and smarter than God, that's been the message to me all week. Don't put that God in a box. He is not to be tamed by man, especially by man. Ever. So anyway, that wedding feast of the Lamb, that's where we consummate the relationship with God to be with him forever, I believe, as well. So again, I'm going to take this from a Christian perspective, but I'm not against anybody who believes something else. Or you're welcome in my chat rooms. You're welcome to comment on my site. Nobody. I mean, anybody that comes and wants to learn more about what's going on, you're welcome. And I don't mean to turn you off, but I'm also not ashamed of my God. So I'm going to talk about him. That's the way it is. Yeah, naive view on things. I just no. And again, this is the whole thing about this event. So this event is not a surprise to God. This event is not a surprise to a lot of people, in fact, right? Um, Yep, I'm glad I met you guys too, Belinda. I'm coming to the end of the time now. I'm getting a little tired. I've been putting out a lot of videos lately. I'm really appreciating the support that everybody's giving me. Let's take a couple last few questions, and I'll take two more, and then we'll call it a night tonight. So go ahead, your last questions, please. Willard Reynolds. We are a chosen generation to witness all the things that are happening, watching it unfolding before our eyes. Yeah, that's a great point, right? So if you're seeing this thing and you're open to it and you're hearing it, I believe that you're especially, I think you've been given a special blessing. Maybe a curse too, I don't know, but mostly a blessing. And that blessing is that I think a lot of people are going to have questions, and you're going to have to be the people that are answering them for people when they're freaking out. One last question, and then we'll stop. Do you think they'll abandon ISS before it comes? I think that's a great last question. So those two Soyuz spacecraft that hang on the ISS, does anybody else just watch them like a hawk to see when they're going to break off and go? Because as soon as those things break off, I know that it's time to go outside and watch. Misty, oh yeah, let me answer one more question. When is it coming? Okay. So I get a lot of people saying, "Hey, when this thing doesn't come in a year, are you gonna fold up like a little baby in the fetal position and run away?" No. If it doesn't show up for a year, we're still seeing it. Space is a big place. We might be seeing this for another couple of years. I don't know. I just don't think we have a lot of time left. I don't know how much. I just don't know when it's gonna come, and I'm not gonna put a date on it because Jesus said nobody knows the date and the hour, man. So don't be a fool and think you know anything because you don't. So, who will be the new Lord Commander of the Castle Black? Good night, everybody. I love you, man. I really do. I can't wait to hopefully see you again online here soon with the next live event. We'll have a guest next time. I have two producers now working on my show that are helping me to get guests lined up. So we have some great guests coming up, and I really do appreciate you all coming out tonight and hanging out with me. And I hope that you have a wonderful evening.